Hey everyone, so I hope you all are doing good. In this video we are going to learn that how we can create payload for our previous video which was titled as Become Elite Hacker Hacking Windows with Python. So if you haven't checked out that video, then I recommend you to check that out before watching this particular video. So finally, let's get started. Also, if you are new to our channel and if you don't know about our website, which is ppractical.tech, then I recommend you to check that out. We have awesome labs for cybersecurity as well as web development. Currently, we have cybersecurity labs of account takeovers where all the labs are based on real world scenarios. So yeah, go ahead and check them out. So let me show you what these labs are all about. So just go to your browser and type bpractical.tech. You will be redirected to our site. So let's wait for a few seconds over here. And yeah, here it is. Here's the website. As you can see, go ahead to the cybersecurity section, the cyber section, and here you will see that we have all these labs for account takeovers. Right now we have only account takeovers lab, and we are planning to add more and more labs later on. So go ahead and check them out if you want to increase your cybersecurity or bug bounty skills. Now let's get back to the video. Now in the previous video we have completed the listener part. We have not actually completed the listener part, but we have created our listener file and we have wrote a few codes in it, right? Now we are going to create a payload file that we are going to send to the victim, and once the victim execute that payload file, the payload will send us a connection of that particular victim's machine to our listener, right? So let us create that payload file. So just gonna open a PowerShell over here and let me create a payload file. Now in the payload file we need to import two things. The first thing is socket, so it is responsible for the connection, establishing the connection, the communication between payload and listener. The second one is subprocess. Now what is subprocess? Subprocess will help us to execute system commands basically. So we want our payload to execute commands once we got connected, right? So subprocess will help us in that. Now let us see that how we can create a payload file. First we need to initialize a variable. Let's say payload. Inside it we are going to do the same thing. We are going to create an object of socket.socket and socket.af_inet. I think you all are familiar that what this af.inet and sock stream means. If not, then I recommend you to check the previous video stream. Right now what we need to do, we need to call the connect method of this particular object. So payload.connect, and here we need to provide the listener's IP address. So the listener's IP address in that case was localhost and the port was 4444. So you should pass this value in a tuple. Tuple means simply you have to pass it in this value, similar to this. Now once we got a connection, what we want to do, we want to print that connection established, right? And that's it. That's pretty much it. Now let's try to see whether our payload and listener file is connecting successfully or not. So in this tab I'm gonna start the listener. So it is showing the listener has started. Now I'm again going to open a PowerShell window over here and I'm gonna start the payload file, and as you can see it is showing that connection established, which means that we were able to establish a connection between payload and listener. Okay, so here's some issue over here. What it is actually, okay, it cannot concatenate string double. Okay, we'll fix it later on, don't worry about that. So right now our payload is working fine. So let me see what this error is all about in the listener. Let's head to it. So I think we need to change this a bit. So the first will be address, I guess. Address, no, not like that. Connection and address is fine. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna just get rid of this and we're gonna pass a string literal basically, and here we're going to write address. So let's see if it is working or not. Now let us try to again do the same thing. Let us start the listener and let us start the payload file. It is showing that connection established. Let's get over here, and as you can see right now we got no error at all. So that's it. Now we have our listener and payload file working. Now what we want our listener to do, we want our listener to send command to the victim's machine through payload, and the payload will execute that command onto the victim machine, and the output will be given back to us, to the listener machine, right? So we are going to program our listener and payload to do this. Let's see how we can do this. So just first of all, what we need to do, we need to open our listener.py, and over here we are going to create a while loop. So while true, so this loop will run infinite times basically. Now let us create a variable. Let's say commands equals to input, and here we will input the command. So enter your command that we want to execute basically. And what we are going to do, we are simply going to send this command to the payload, right? So we can do this by typing connection.send commands. Now this will not work because this command, as you can see, is in the form of string, right? It is a sequence of characters, but this connection.send method will only accept the data which is in the type of byte. So we need to convert these commands, this string value, into bytes. How we can do this? We can simply type commands, I hope the spelling is right, yeah, bytes, and here we can pass the variable, and the encoding type will be UTF-8, which is the encoding type of the strings, right? And now it will work. Now after sending the commands, what we want to do, we want to wait for the payload to send us the output. Yeah, we want to receive the output. So we can create a variable output equals to connection dot receive, and here we need to specify the size of the data. So let's specify the size as 2048, and now this data again will be in the type of bytes, right? So since the socket function sends and receives data in bytes, so we need to convert this back and forth. Now what we need to do, we need to convert this back to string. So we can do this simply by typing output equals to output dot decode. So, and we can just specify the encoding type. For string it is UTF-8, so we don't need to worry about that. And finally, after getting the output, we are going to just print it. Simple as that. Now our listener part has been completed, and let us see that how we can create, how we can program the payload part. So let's get over to the payload section. So after establishing the connection, we are going to again start a while loop, and here what the payload will do, payload will wait for the listener to send the commands, right? So commands equals to payload dot receive, and the size will be 2048. Now again, what we know is that this receive function will receive the data in byte format, right? So now what we need to do, when we have the given command, we have to decode it back to the string, right? So we can type cmd equals to cmd.decode, and the encoding type will be UTF-8, decoding type. And now after this, what we need to do, we need to execute this command, right? And to execute this command, we have a method of sub process which is known as call, and another method which is known as check process. So we are going to use the check process method over here, the check output method over here, because we need to store the output somewhere in the variable, and after that we are going to send the output back to the listener, right? So let's say output equals to sub process sys.check underscore output, and here we need to pass the cmd, and here we have to specify shell equals to true, right? Now that's it, and now we need to send this back to the listener, right? And we know that the send method will accept the data in bytes format, right? And now this particular method will return the output already in byte format. So this will return in bytes format. So since the data is already in the byte, we don't need to encode it again, so we can send it directly. So we can just type payload.send output. That's it. Now our payload and listener file has been completed. Let us see that whether it is working or not. So I'm just going to close it, close this one as well. So let us start the listener first. Listener.py showing listener started. Now let's try to start the payload, Python payload.py. It's showing connection established. Let us see if we get a connection or not. And yeah, as you can see, okay, so we didn't get a connection. Yeah, we got a connection actually. Now as you can see, it is showing that got connection from this IP address and this port. Let us see whether some commands are working or not. So let us specify a simple command, who am I, and let's hit enter and let's see what's happened after that. As you can see, the command has been executed and has been sent back to the listener successfully. Right now, if I type dir, as you can see, so all these commands are working as it is working as intended, right? So we have successfully created the payload and the listener file. Now we can do a lot of modification over here to make this payload more advanced and make this listener more advanced. Now I have created a separate course on this particular topic, that hacking Windows with Python. So let me show you guys. So over here, if I type hacking Windows with Python, Udemy, let us wait, and this is the course that I have created. And in this course I have covered everything from bypassing the antivirus to getting the access of the webcam. All of it is included in this particular course. So yeah, you can go ahead and check that course out. And I've actually given a coupon in the description, so you can just go ahead and use that coupon to get this particular course for as low price as possible. So with that being said, if you guys have any doubts, if you guys have any issues, then please let me know in the comment section. Thanks for watching. And yeah, one more thing, do join our Telegram channel if you want to stay updated with the latest trends and technologies in cybersecurity or web development, or if you want to discuss anything, then yeah, go ahead and join our Telegram channel. So with that being said, thanks for watching and have a nice day.